Let's move on to some of the physical and business impacts of what's happening tonight at midnight in Victoria. We already know businesses are struggling with COVID-19 and now they're being hit with another blow. Right across the state, I have to say the mood is sombre. Pubs, restaurants, shops, they were just starting to get back on their feet. Now they're being forced to close again tonight.
My initial thought was, how dare you blame us for your mistakes? It's pretty clear that you were given the advice from the federal government and you were given the assistance, but you didn't take it. And now you want to blame your people. Take some accountability. A good leader sometimes knows when they've made a mistake and asks for help. So, you know, good leadership, in my opinion, would go, you know what, I messed up.
I think we should have been stricter, because if we were, I think by now this wouldn't be happening again and we wouldn't have to go through this. And as a business, it was so hard the first time and recovering has been so difficult and such a long process.
It's very disheartening having to tell your staff that they can no longer earn a living here, especially for my staff that are from overseas, including myself. There's no support from the government. But I think as a government, they could do more to support businesses and people in the way they support us during this time of crisis.
We are all going to be without a job, so it's not very good.
I think it's going to be quiet. Yeah, very quiet, but we'll do what we can.
The organisation that represents one of Melbourne's premier shopping strips, the Chapel Street Precinct Association, is concerned at the way the Andrews government is handling the crisis, and they say it will devastate local businesses. General Manager Chrissie joins me now from Melbourne. Chrissie, anyone in Victoria, but I think anyone around the country knows the Chapel Street Strip. It's a must-visit tourism spot amongst many other things. Bars, restaurants, retail, 2,000 businesses you represent, and many of them in that tourist precinct. What's the sentiment from business owners with the news this week?
Wow, firstly, thank you for having me on. And today, what a harrowing sentiment. I just want to start by saying the only reason we are in this position tonight, is because the Andrews government has messed up. And I think all of us can sit back and say the only reason this is happening is because of decisions that were made by our government, and decisions that were made that they absolutely have to take accountability for. If Daniel Andrews was part of a corporate company right now, he absolutely would have been moved along. And tonight, I've talked to so many traders along Chapel Street Precinct today, and yeah, absolutely, today was a sombre time. Yes, there is silver linings that we can talk about, and of course we want to promote the message to support local today, but 1 = 1, which is the only reason we are going into lockdown, is because Daniel Andrews made a massive mistake that he can't take accountability for. And how can we trust our government to make the decisions? I'm so glad that you had me on tonight, and I can't wait to hear your opinion, but we have mums and dads that are relying on foot traffic, and it is absolutely going to hemorrhage them. 85% our foot traffic was down last time round, and thank God we had a dress rehearsal for this, Peter. Thank God at least Daniel Andrews gave us a dress rehearsal.
He was pretty flippant when he was pushed on this question, Chrissie, because he was saying, you know, at least they can go back to having takeaway. But I've been told the statistics are that you need 4 weeks worth of takeaway generated revenue, so income into your cafe, to make up for 1 week of when you've got table service. Is that right? And so how on earth do people pay their rents and keep staff on the books through all of this?
Well, that's right, isn't it? Those overheads still keep on going. You're exactly right. 1 week equals 4 weeks opening of normal. Now, remember that 4 weeks that I'm talking about, they had limited numbers. So takeaway is going to be what they go back to. Now, when we say all of them, they're not all going to do takeaway. Most of them will close. And the difference here now is, as when we talk about supporting local, if we don't, they're not going to make it through. Last time around, we had 15 businesses permanently close. And yes, we've had so many businesses in Chapel Street Precinct that have innovated, that have pivoted over this time. And yes, we've had a dress rehearsal, but where does the exhaustion come in now? And where's the accountability and the leadership?
So just on the Premier, you know, I listened carefully for the last couple of days. I didn't hear a great sort of apology. In fact, he called out all of us for being complacent. And I agree with you. The biggest crime here is that the lack of oversight of the hotel quarantine process. It seems to me today, and I think yesterday when the news first broke, people are pretty angry.
Absolutely, and it is a harrowing feeling, and yes, we're going to pick ourselves up, and yes, they're going to pivot, and yes, we're going to be innovative and all of those things, and there is silver linings to come out of this. However, right now, we need to understand that and I'm glad to be having a conversation about leadership with you, because when we look to our leaders of the country, we want to actually let them stand up and say, I've done something wrong. And if we talk about any businesses, the best leaders around the world will take accountability. And I expect that of anyone, any leader that we look up to. I was most concerned, Peter, about his language that he used yesterday. He led with fear. When I read that press release, I think my eyeballs fell out of my head. And I certainly wouldn't look to a leader to talk in the way he did. And to be honest, yesterday he incited fear in the community. And I'm here to say we're here to wrap our arms around our community. We're here to say we will get you through this. We know that it's absolutely going to be hard, but we will be there with you. And his language yesterday, the fear, I mean, those words, and then the veneer words the day beforehand saying, I'm your captain and I am, the captain of this ship, were absolutely veneer.
Yeah, it's a bit of ship of fools, I have to say. Chrissie, I'm going to come back and catch up with you again when we get through this 6-week period just to see how businesses are travelling. I'm really keen to know what the impacts are and how many doors do stay permanently closed as you fear. But I really appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.